Well, I'm locked. I am totally locked up. My camera's not working. Nothing's working except the music. Well, what the heck here, boys and girls? What the heck, boys and girls? Music's working. Nothing else is working. All right. Well, let me try restarting my drivers here. I'll close him down. Yep, no, not that one. Not that one. Hopefully you can still hear me. Here, let's try this one. Everything was running fine until a minute ago. There. Now you can see me. And let me check my microphone. Make sure you can hear me. It looks like you can. And good. That's me. What, you ask, is a me? Well, as a matter of fact, I'm Ron. And this is Sunday Morning, Live with Ron. Today, even. So it's not like we added another day just to do this in. I picked a day that already existed and decided to do it on that day. Because I do this every other Sunday morning. I come in here and I sit in my office, or I sit in my backyard, or I sit in my little studio in my bedroom, and I talk to you for about an hour. And today is going to be fun-filled and fact-filled and just kind of full of it. I think today is going to be definitely full of it. But we're combining this morning our usual 3 activities, which are 1, to show you the new pieces that will be going up on my gallery, and 2, to give you a lesson on photography, and 3, to demonstrate that lesson using my photo equipment. So we're going to do those 3 things, and then, because it's the first day of the month, we get to draw the name for the winner of this month's giveaway. Except we won't actually know, because my export function on my website is not working this morning. I will get them to fix it on Monday, but I've counted, so I know how many people are in the drawing. I just won't be able to tell you the name that goes with that. So bear with me on that. That one's outside of my control. That's not something I can restart here and get you information on. I also don't know why Instagram does not seem to be starting up today. They all say they're working, but I just don't see my Instagram live on my monitoring account. Let me try my other monitoring account. Go over here to this one. There, that one shows I'm live. There, I can. In fact, hi Nico. I can, in fact, monitor Instagram now. So here I am. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. You are not on any of those right this minute, but you may be watching a replay. So welcome. Welcome, welcome. And if you wander in late, welcome, welcome. Everybody's welcome. Cats, dogs, lizards, birds, everybody is welcome. Spiders, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much on the spiders. You can leave your spider where you are. Don't bring them over here. So, the first thing I promised is I'm going to show you the new pieces that are going into my gallery tomorrow morning. Okay? So here they come. Gird your grids. It's going to be nice. Okay? Here they are. This first one, if I can find the... There it is. Let's go back to the first one. There it is. This first one, hi Kathy. This first one is called Water Weed Wonderment. Just because I had a mouthful of W's and I had to get rid of them. So this was taken at Ellis Lake Park, right here in Concord, California, where I live. Marvelous little city park, right near some of the shopping areas. It's not used much, amazingly. There are a few people there. but not that often, and certainly not earlier in the morning, which is when I tend to go. There's people there more towards sundown. But this is Ellis Lake Park. Just some water grasses growing alongside the edge of the lake. The next one is called Never Surrender. This particular stump is referred to as the grandfather stump. It's in Henry Cowell Redwood State Park in Felton, California, which is on the San Francisco Peninsula, up above Santa Cruz. And they believe that this stump was probably one of the original redwoods in this whole grove. And it's been down for hundreds of years. And it's still there. Thank you to whoever is liking me, even though you're not coming into my room. I appreciate that. So it's been down for hundreds of years, and it still is this marvelous, recognizable stump. Redwood is just amazing, amazing stuff. It lasts most of forever. So this one is called Never Surrender. You are welcome to guess where I got that from. And the third one today is called The Tryst 2. So this is the second one in my series called The Tryst, which is a series of still lifes that I did in my living room. It actually went with a short story in Wormwood Press. And I still haven't posted to my gallery the one that the editor selected for Wormwood Press. That's still coming. But eventually, there will be the full series of 5 in my gallery. But this is number 2. Okay. You can see that they were up to something. There's wine glasses and shoes are off. And not only are the shoes off, the socks are off, which is very telling, I think, personally. When you take your socks off, you're like there for a while. Yeah. One thing to take your shoes off. And this one is called Try and Stop Me, which I know is grammatically incorrect. It should be Try to Stop Me, but a kid would say Try and Stop Me. So this particular sculpture is in Discovery Meadow, which is right outside the Children's Discovery Museum of San Jose. Went walking down there one bright sunny day and was thrilled to discover that there's all these little sculptures hidden all around the park, and some are not so hidden. But this one, as you can see, was kind of tucked into some bushes there. And I loved the look of this one with the boy who has the soccer ball and the girl who is not going to fall for anything. Notice that her focus is down on the ball. She's not going to fall for a head fake or anything. She's watching the ball just like she's supposed to. So welcome, whoever joined me on Facebook there. Say hi. And so those are the 4 pieces this week. Just to recap, we'll go back through them again. Water Weeds Wonderment. Oh, I scared them away. Never Surrender. The Tryst 2. And Try and Stop Me. So those 4 pieces will be going up on my website, Tomorrow morning, very early, because tomorrow I'm off for new adventures. Okay. What website, you say? Why, that would be this website here, ronalcottphotography.com. That's the one. That's my website. Well, that's one of my websites. I also have one called ronalcottportraits.com. Okay. So if you're in the Bay Area and you need family portraits or personal portraits or engagement or maternity, any of that kind of stuff, I'm the guy to call. So do get hold of me for that. But I mentioned that tomorrow morning things are going to be posted very early. And that's because tomorrow I am driving up to Reno. And on Tuesday, I'm setting up my booth. And Wednesday through Saturday, I'm going to be selling my art at, which one? Right there. Hot August Nights. I will have my prints available at Hot August Nights. I will be on Commercial Row. So I'll be in the downtown Reno section. This happens all over the place. There's like 2 sections in Sparks and 4 sections in Reno, and I'm going to be in the downtown Reno section. So if you need to find me, which you do, that's where I'm going to be. So come and see me. I believe the hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Friday, and then 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Long day in the heat. 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday, the 7th. So drop by and see me. If you're west of the Mississippi, you need to get to Hot August Nights. In case you don't know Hot August Nights, it is a classic car rally that takes over the whole city of Reno. I'm sure I'm going to be quite frustrated at being stuck in my booth and not out photographing cars at many points during the week. But hey, that's what I do. You know, you take the pictures, you got to sell them. That's how it all works. So that's what I'm doing next week. Next week, I'm doing Hot August Nights. And then the following week, so that ends on the 7th. Following weekend, 14th and 15th, I'm doing Headshot Extravaganza again. 14th in Walnut Creek. The 15th at San Francisco Airport. And then the 21st in San Jose. So if you need a headshot and you need a discount deal on one, that's the time to get hold of me. So 14, 15, and 21 are the days for Headshot Extravaganza in August. So come out and see that. Of course, then that brings us around somewhere in there, the 15th, the morning of the 15th, before I go out there, we're going to have to do this show quick. It will be quick. It will be from my setup at the airport because it will be Sunday morning, and it's every other week, Sunday morning, live with Ron. That's the way it works. So I'll have to get live, and you'll have to come see me, and I'll still have to be Ron. And we can't help it. It's going to be Sunday morning. So the 15th, Sunday the 15th, will be the next Sunday morning live with Ron. Tomorrow morning, I will also be announcing on the website what my next giveaway piece is going to be. So we'll launch the monthly giveaway tomorrow morning. And when we do that, you'll know what it is. And when I pick it, I'll know what it is. So that's the reason we're not announcing today. I had too many other things to pick this morning. But we'll get underway. And as we've done recently, in order to get in on the drawing, even if you're already on my email list, you have got to sign up again in order to win. Everybody that you're going to see later in the show, they signed up to win. That's the way it works. You sign up, you win the prints. And we're well on our way to not being able to give away an extra print today, but we'll see if anybody comes on. Usually when I do my live drawings, live drawing for that one will be September 1st, whatever day that is. As long as it's not a Sunday, it will be at 5:30 p.m. I think that's enough. I think that's pretty much covers every single weekend. I'm busy the 28th as well, but that's not a public thing. That's just a photo shoot, private photo shoot. So August is going to be a crazy month. It's going to be hot. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be dry out here in the West. Sorry about all the smoke. I didn't do it, but I'm in California, so I apologize to the rest of the country. Actually, most of you are getting it worse than I am. The way the winds are blowing right now, the fires are east of me, and the winds are blowing east. So I'm actually not getting much smoke down here. Oftentimes, by the time we get a couple big fires going, like we have now, up in the mountains, it will blow down here, and I am in a valley that will fill up with smoke, but we really haven't had any. We've got a little bit. My eyes have been burning some days, so I know it's out there in the air, but we're just not getting the smoke, and I certainly am nowhere near any fires. And as far as I can tell, there's no fires between me and Reno, and there's no fires in Reno. The fires are all up in the mountains. So I will be safe in Reno. At least safe from fire. Who knows what else there is to be unsafe with in Reno, Nevada. But I'm sure there's something. Welcome whoever joined on Facebook. Please do say hi. So that's all the stuff that's happening. 2 weeks we've got next week we've got hot August nights, Wednesday through Saturday. In the downtown section is where I'll be set up. And then in 2 weeks, I will be doing Headshots Extravaganza on Saturday and Sunday. And of course, that Sunday will be 2 weeks from now. So I'm going to do Sunday Morning Live with Ron from my setup in Burlingame near San Francisco Airport. And then in 3 weeks, I will be down in San Jose doing Headshot Extravaganza. And then on the 1st of September, I'll be giving away whatever the next giveaway is. So it's just a whole month full of Ron. Isn't that thrilling? Doesn't that make you happy down in the depths of your heart and soul? I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. You're just containing yourself, and I appreciate it. We don't want to embarrass anybody. But I know how happy that makes you down in the depths of your heart and soul. So, we've done one of our 3 normal things. So let's get to the second piece. Today, we're going to start in on a brand new module. We've done months and months and months of composition techniques, and we're going to loop back to the very beginning and the very basic part of what you need to know to start being more creative and more effective in your photography. And that is the exposure triangle. Now, the first thing to remember about the exposure triangle is people will tell you that there isn't a right answer to exposure. And they are wrong. Your camera will tell you that there's a right answer to exposure, but it's wrong. Okay. When you're taking a picture, this is rule 0. Okay. Anytime that we talk about rules in photography, they always leave out rule 0. The right answer is the picture that you are trying to take. Okay. So rule 0, decide what you're taking a picture of. All right. And then once you've decided what you're taking a picture of, then you can start thinking about the exposure triangle. Here it is. Okay. There are 3 parts that go in. Okay. Shutter, which is measured in shutter speeds, and you can have a faster shutter or a slower shutter. The aperture, which is a fancy Latin name, which means hole, which talks about how big is the hole letting the light in. Okay, so we can have a lower aperture, which is a bigger hole, or we can have a higher aperture, which is a smaller hole. I wish people would just talk bigger, smaller, okay? Because sometimes they will talk about having a higher aperture when they actually mean a bigger. Okay, but aperture numbers, the lower the number, the bigger the opening. Okay. Let me get my banner out of the way here so you can see the rest of the diagram. And then the third part is the ISO, which is an old technical term, but all it really means is how sensitive is your camera being to light. All right. ISO is the International Standards Organization, and they're the ones who assigned numbers back in the chemical film days. They assigned numbers to mean certain values so that you could compare films and know sensitivity to light based on its ISO number. And of course, that can be higher, more sensitive, or lower, less sensitive. Okay. And somewhere here in the center is your ideal exposure. Now, remember what I just said. People are going to try to tell you that this is an absolute value, and it is not. Your camera will tell you this is an absolute value, and it is not. This is the ideal exposure for the picture you are trying to take. So if you're trying to take a very bright, airy picture, your ideal exposure is going to be much brighter than if you were trying to take a dark and moody, whoops, that was wrong. A dark and moody exposure. There we go. Let's back up. I hit the wrong thing. I was trying to get. I'm just shedding hair like a great Saint Bernard here. I'm just hair all over the place. Okay, let's make that a little bit bigger. So your ideal exposure is the exposure that you are trying to get. Okay, it is not an absolute value. When you're starting, sure, go with the exposure that's recommended with your camera, see how you like it, and then change it. Now, this is always represented as a triangle. Okay, they always draw this triangle, and then nobody ever talks about the triangle again. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently than most of the photography training that you see, I'm going to show you why it's a triangle. Now, when I was reading up to do this lesson, I actually saw somebody admit that they didn't think it was really a triangle. It's like, oh, well, we call it a triangle, but it's not really a triangle, but it really is a triangle. So remember, in the center here, we have our ideal exposure. Okay? And there are an infinite number of combinations, nearly infinite number of combinations of aperture, shutter, and ISO that will put our exposure right in that center. And there are different reasons, and that will be the next 3 lessons, different reasons to make different adjustments to all 3 pieces, aperture, shutter, and ISO. And when you adjust one, it affects what you need to do with the other ones. Okay? Just like this. Imagine these lines are not solid bars. Imagine they are elastic bands. Okay? So if I move this band up, okay? If I don't try to do it on there, but I try to look at the actual diagram, there we go. If I move this band halfway up here, and it's actually an elastic band, what's actually going to happen is it's going to move my circle off of that ideal exposure, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so I've got less light coming in. I've made my aperture smaller, so I've got less light coming in. It's going to move it off of the ideal exposure. So to compensate for that, I'm going to have to make these other bands stretch somewhere. Okay. I'm going to have a slower shutter and maybe a little more sensitivity. Okay. And if I get all that right, then that extra tension will pull me back down into this ideal exposure. That makes sense? Let's go over that again. Because this is the essence of the exposure triangle. When you change one value, and you may think that none of these are changing, okay? You've just got your camera on automatic and poof, it takes a picture. Well, when you have it on automatic, your camera decides all of these things for you. So as you get more creative and more expressive with your photography, you're going to want to take over one or more of these controls. Why? That's the next few lessons. But you will want to take over one or more controls. And when you do, you're going to need to remember that if you change something, okay, let's go the other way this time. Let's grab this guy, okay, and make the aperture bigger. Okay. When we do that, that's going to pull us off of our ideal exposure. So because we have more light coming in, we might try having less sensitivity. That will move us back this way some, but we're probably also going to have a faster shutter. So the shutter is open less time, and that lets in less light. And that will take us back to our ideal exposure. Now, again, can't harp on it enough. It is the ideal exposure for the picture you want to take. It is not an absolute ideal exposure. So that is the way the exposure triangle works. If you pull something, you pull one of these elastic bands by changing the aperture or the shutter. Okay, do another example. Okay, let's say you have a reason that you want your shutter speed to be faster. Okay. That's going to pull this. Nope, not that. That's going to pull this up. Okay. And you're going to have to compensate for that. You're either going to have to get more light by adding sensitivity and or opening up your aperture. And when you make the adjustments, you can pull that back down into your ideal exposure. So whenever you change one of these factors, it's going to affect how you make selections or how your camera makes selections in the other factors. That's the exposure triangle and why it truly is a triangle. Because when you move something along one vector, you have to compensate by moving things along another vector. All right. As I said, that's a little bit different than I have ever seen the exposure triangle taught. Most people say exposure triangle, they show you a triangle, and then they talk about each piece independently, and they never go back to the fact that they all affect each other. So that's an important thing to know. That's something I forget in the field all the time. I shoot manual, so I have taken control of all three of those factors. And I'll say, oh, wow, I'm shooting way too slow. I'm getting shake because I'm handheld. I'll make my shutter speed faster, and I'll forget to open up my aperture or increase my ISO. So that's the way the exposure triangle works. So don't feel bad. There are charts. There are charts and charts and charts and charts and charts. Say, match this up and match this up with this and this. If you let in more light one way and you want to get to a certain exposure, you've got to let in less light along one of those other dimensions. That's all there is to it. Okay? You fiddle with it till you get it right. Okay? Because even if you memorize the whole chart, they will tell you this is just a guideline. It's just a guideline. So just understand the principle and start making adjustments. And eventually you'll get a feel for how much adjust, and it'll take you less time to adjust. But hey, we're all working with digital now. Okay? So it's not like you have to guess and get it right the first time. Okay? It's digital. Shoot a picture, take a look at it. See if you like it. Yes, I like it. Good. Leave it there. No. And adjust whatever you think you need to adjust. It's a triangle. Everything has to balance to get into that center position of the ideal exposure. So that is the basics of the lesson. So let me now jump over to my camera and show you how all of that works. Hang on one second. Sorry, had a tickle in my nose, had to sneeze. All right, I'm going to move away from the mic a little bit, so I'm going to try to talk up. As you can see, we are not in the backyard. We are here in the office with Mr. Pumpkin and my power orb set up as a still life in a chair. And I've started out, let me make one adjustment. Yeah, let's do this. See, it says that we're just there and there. Okay. So, lighting changes. I've got a window open, so the lighting is changing constantly. Here we have it, and as if you look across the bottom there, you will see the settings that are currently in the camera. On the left, it tells us our shutter speed. We're at 1/8 of a second. The next one to the right is our aperture, which are measured in f-stops. And someday I'll remember why it's f. But right now we're set at f8. And then all the way to the right, it says ISO 800. That's the thing I just adjusted for the light. And just to the left of where it says ISO, you see plus minus 0.0. This tells me that I am now adjusted to where my camera thinks I should be. All right. Doesn't mean it's the right adjustment. It means I'm adjusted to where my camera thinks I should be. And we're going to use that today because it's a good way to show you on screen. But don't let it fool you. Okay. If this is the exposure that I wanted on my subjects, okay, but suddenly the backdrop is not brown, but instead it becomes all black. You see now that the camera thinks that I am underexposed, whereas the exposure on my subjects have not changed. I just wanted to show that to you because your camera is going to evaluate the whole scene, and you're going to be evaluating what you want to take a picture of. And I'll take that bag back out. Because I did such a nice job of balancing it to begin with. Okay, so what happens when we start changing things? Let's start with the aperture, since that's where I started in my lesson. Okay. If we make our aperture smaller, which will mean a bigger f number. Okay. So if we make our aperture smaller, say we go to f11, okay, you see the picture got darker. Still not a bad picture, in my opinion. I tend to like things a little bit dark. I find that when I'm shooting, I tend to shoot when I get back into making adjustments to it, I tend to shoot like one stop below where I should be. So you see that when I made the aperture smaller, it got darker. So to compensate for that, I can either slow down my shutter, okay, okay, from 1/8 to 1/4 of a second. Now this is indoor, so these are extremely, extremely slow shutter speeds. All right. Or I could leave my shutter where it was, okay, and I could increase my ISO. Nope, gotta go all the way up to double. So you see that by increasing my ISO, increasing the sensitivity to light, I've gotten it back to 0. Now, if I didn't like the fact that I had to go all the way up to 1600, and there are reasons, again, we'll go over those, you can make partial adjustments on each of those. Okay? So instead of going to 1/4 on shutter or 1600 on ISO, I can go to 1/6 on shutter and 1250 on ISO. So you can combine all of those things to get the exposure that you want to have. So let's say, just for fun, that I want to create an exposure, and the reason I use this lens is I can go all the way down to 1.8, okay? And at 1.8, I know I'm going to have to cut my ISO down. Well, let's try it. Let's leave the ISO where it is. Let's see how fast we would have to get the shutter. I'm betting it's going to be back up here in the ranges where we could do it handheld. Okay? Yeah. You see a 1/250th of a second. And if I switch over and go to manual focus, you're going to see the reason why I would want that 1.8. And that's going to be as I focus in, right on Mr. Pumpkinhead right there. You see I've got parts of his green bits or his orange bits. Nope. That's right. You focus on eyes. You got people, focus on eyes. See how that's out. This is too far. This getting better, getting better, getting better. That's too far. Does not help that I am legally blind. Okay? But you can see that we can get focused on his eye pretty good. But that makes everything else around it very, very blurry. That's one of the functions of aperture, is it controls how sharp your picture is. Okay? Notice how the back of the chair has lost all of its texture. It's just kind of a very brown mottled background at this speed. Okay? Now, I would not want to take this picture because ISO 1250 will give you grain. And as I said, we're going to talk about all of that later on. One day I'm going to learn which direction to turn that. Okay, so if I turn down the sensitivity, but I know I want that f1.8, okay, then I'm going to have to slow down my shutter speed, okay, to about 1/80th of a second. Okay. If I take that picture and we look at it, we look at the fact that my battery is about to die, okay, you see that we've got a really nice, sharp picture of Mr. Pumpkin's head, but even the globe in front and certainly the back of the chair behind are out of focus. They're blurry, they're soft. Not out of focus, they're soft. Okay. So that sort of shows you what happens when you start playing with your controls and start thinking about taking different kinds of pictures to always get back to that same relative exposure value of your subject. So that is how it works in real life. Oh, Tracy joined for a minute. Now she's gone. So that's how the exposure triangle works. That's the way it works in real life. That's the way it works in pictures. And that's the way it works in... Did I have all of that stuff covered up the whole time? I wonder. I may have. Yeah, you couldn't see any of that, could you? I was looking at a different picture. Okay. Well, we'll have to refilm that if I ever want to use the recording. But there you are. Now you see the settings that we used for that picture. There it is. Life is good. We looked at what's going in the gallery. I'm going to play those again after the drawing. And we looked at the exposure triangle and how it works as a triangle. Now, if you adjust one thing, you need to compensate by adjusting the other things, okay, to get to where you need to be. And then we showed you how that works on the actual on my actual camera. Okay. So that's all three of the things that we normally do. We have a fourth thing today. Today is the day for the drawing. And as I said, for some reason, my website is not downloading names this morning. And I couldn't download them last night because you were still able to enter the drawing last night. So I had to download them this morning. They're probably doing maintenance. I am sure that, by the end of the day, I will have a name to go with it. But I have been through the list. I can see it on my website. And there are currently 70 names in it, once you take my name out. So there are 70 people who entered the drawing for Anyone for Orange. Now let's bring that up quick. It's a nice print. So this is what we're drawing for. Is this guy right here. Okay, Anyone for Orange. That's the piece that we're drawing for right now, right this very instant. Okay, as I said, we've got 70 names on the list. So let's see which number is going to be the winner, and then I'll look up the name later because we can't get to the names right now. Find my copy of it so I can press the button. There. Now we're going to press the big button. We are at random.org, the true random number generator. okay, which is mathematically accurately random. Okay? So you can't blame me for being favorites. So here we go. The magic number today is 52. There we go. 52 is the winner. I will look that name up. I will send them an email congratulating them. I will send you an email letting you know their name if you're entered into my email list. And if you're not entered into the email list, what is wrong with you? It's a great email list. I send out a newsletter every couple of weeks that talks about one of my prints and what it means to me and sort of my philosophy behind it. So you should be on the newsletter list. It's not like I'm sending you 5 emails a day like Bed Bath & Beyond. So 52 is the lucky winner. And we'll find out their name later today as soon as I can get into the back end and get that list downloaded. We did see our 4 pictures today. And I don't know if you noticed, but they're all black and white. Waterweed Wonderment. Never Surrender. The Tryst 2. Try and Stop Me. So those are the pictures. They'll be up on the gallery early tomorrow morning. That's our hour. Amazing that I've wasted an entire hour of your life. I know it surprises you. I would play my outro music, except trying to get things restarted and see if I could not be hung up. I killed my Spotify. So we'll do that. Yeah. Come see me at Hot August Nights. I expect it's going to be a fun time. I've never been to Hot August Nights. It should be a lot of fun. I really am looking forward to it. So come see me. Enjoy your life. You be good to yourself. Be kind to other people. And become the person that you would like to meet. Peace out. Haha, I did a fade black. So there.